Boston Celtics cruise in Washington. They lose Kristaps Porzingis. I'll give you the injury update there. And Payton Pritchard wants to be an elite defender. We'll talk about it right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Yup. Beantown, be ever ready. Recognize the city of champs. Back to back, if I say it, it's stamp. Locked on number 19, the best one, the next one. Juice loose in your pool now for the next run. It's the C's, who else could it be? What they gon' say now? Screaming like JT, Karalis, recap the madness. Every game, every practice. Best daily pod, no cap like Brad Beckett. Plus like Drew to KP, tap in daily. Primetime dapping D White on the sideline. Raining Jace, how it started, raising business, how we finished. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast. Right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. I got you covered every Monday through Friday, plus bonus podcasts when they play on the weekends. They have not been playing many games here, but I'm still here for you Monday through Friday. Do they play in the weekend this weekend? I know they play on Thursday. Yeah, they play on Saturday. So I'll give you a post-game podcast Saturday night after they play the Bulls. So that's what I'm here for. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcast. Watch the show on YouTube. Get into the comment section. Let me know what you're thinking. I'm John Karalis. If you're new to the show, I've been covering this team for about 20 years now, doing it as a beat writer for Boston Sports Journal and also the author of Built Different, a book commemorating Banner 18. Get it now while there's still a Banner 18. When there's a Banner 19, hopefully I write another book celebrating that championship. But for now, you can get this book at johnkaralis.com. $30, signed, personalized, delivered to your door. Still time, I think, to get it in time for Christmas here. So get your orders in soon. I've got a batch going out Monday. I don't know when the last day is, but Christmas is next Wednesday. So Tuesday, Wednesday, I think Wednesday might be the last day to get your orders in to make sure you get those books in time. After that, I cannot guarantee that they'll be there in time for Christmas. So go ahead and do that. Today's show is brought to you by Robinhood. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at robinhood.com/gold. The Celtics in Washington for the third time already this season. A quirk of the NBA Cup. So they get 3 games in Washington. They win it 112-98. They now, this is so fun, the Boston Celtics now have more wins at the Capital One Arena than the Washington Wizards do. The Celtics have more wins in the home of the Washington Wizards than the Washington Wizards. It's probably a stat you're going to hear a million times. It's worth hearing a million times because that's silly. That's just objectively funny for everyone except Wizards fans. And you know what? Wizards fans are probably like, yeah, that's great. That's great. Give us that Cooper flag. Give us that top pick. So they're probably like, yeah, go ahead. Win all the games. Come back. Can we schedule the Celtics to come back to Washington to beat us a few more times to ensure that we will get a great chance at that top pick? But still a funny stat. Later on, we'll get into Payton Pritchard, Jayson Tatum, and all of that stuff. Let's just start quickly with I don't want to start the podcast on this game by saying, not much to this game, but in a general sense, they played pretty good basketball. Tail end of the first quarter, second quarter was pretty good. And then after that, it was kind of crappy. They won the first quarter 34-23 thanks to Jayson Tatum getting hot and scoring 7 out of 10 in a 10-0 run to finish that quarter. Then that run, by the time it leveled off, we're calling it 28-8. So the Celtics were up 1. Then they went on a 28-8 run spanning the end of the first into the second. And that's where they got their 21-point lead. Their biggest lead was 22. After that, there was a portion in the third quarter. I think after halftime, you can basically just erase everything. I don't care to discuss everything that happened after halftime ever again. That was gross basketball. It was nothing that anybody should be particularly proud of necessarily. And I was so dying to be like, Patriots fans were just moaning about like, oh God, this team is so unwatchable. And I didn't watch the game. I just saw people saying, oh, Drake May did this. Okay, that's nice. That's nice. I don't know what he did, but he did something. They still lost. And I was like, the world champion Boston Celtics are playing right now. You can watch them. And then I was watching how that game went. I'm like, you know what? I don't think I want people to be steering towards this particular game. It was not pretty. Third quarter, got cut down to 10. It was about halfway through the third quarter. Payton Pritchard comes in and, a smart substitution, I think, because Jaylen Brown just did not have a great game. The last two games from Jaylen Brown were spectacular. Like the last two without Jayson Tatum, the Pistons game and what was the one before that? I forget. But regardless, the games without Jayson Tatum, he has been great. In fact, both Pistons games, he was completely in control. I could not say enough about Jaylen Brown and how well he played, even though he didn't score a bunch in those games, especially this last Pistons game. This game, off night. Just an off night for Jaylen. I don't know what it was. He even had like the old school classic Jaylen Brown's distracted. His mind seems to be wandering and he gave up the backdoor cut. Used to be a staple of bad Jaylen Brown games before. We haven't seen a ton of those backdoor cuts. I was like, okay, everybody has them. Not a big deal. Not going to overreact to it at all. Jaylen had a bad game. He actually came out in the third quarter and Pritchard and Hauser came in, and that was a part of a turning point. Pritchard hits a couple of 3-pointers. They go back up 16. And then at that point, it's just 16, 20, 18, 21, 15, like those back and forth with the leads, never a threat. And that was it. That was the flow of the game. The biggest story here was the Kristaps Porzingis injury, where he's only played 11 and a half minutes in this game. Second quarter, comes out with a few minutes to go, basically sits on the bench for a minute and then goes right into the back. They said questionable to return because of heel pain. And he didn't return. They didn't need him to. But because the first thing I want to say is questionable meant that it was possible he could return, right? So the injury right away, you knew it wasn't that bad. After the game, he said it was, it happened in that game. It's, first of all, not something that lingered. He couldn't even pinpoint when it happened. He was going up for a rebound or whatever, came down, he heard it. Wasn't a big deal, played through it. Later on, it got a little bit more sensitive. He told the staff about it. They took him out. There was no need to put him back in. After the game, Porzingis said it feels fine, or it doesn't expect him to miss time. They've got 3 days off before they host Chicago on Thursday. So there's the bottom line is he feels okay. It's not a big deal. He's dealt with something like that before, and that's it. I'm always, on edge when it comes to Porzingis. Anything lower body, you feel a little bit of pain. It's just like, okay, pull him out, sit him out, whatever. How much time does he need to miss? Doesn't matter. But it doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal. So that's good news. We'll take him at his word. I don't like hearing things like heel pain because I'm always worried about, like, is it just heel pain or is it something that connects to the heel that's in pain and then, a ligament or muscle or something like that. So I guess we'll find out more, but nothing sounds like it's anything serious. So that's good news. Luke Kornet played really, really well. And, without Al Horford. So we'll talk about Luke's game. We'll talk about Jayson Tatum's game. We'll talk about Payton Pritchard and Payton Pritchard's defense. All of that stuff is coming up when I come back. Today's show brought to you by Robinhood Gold. With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for the high society. Now, the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.25% APY on uninvested cash and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on IRA account contributions. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC. Today's show is also brought to you by BetterHelp. I've been very open about my therapy journey. I think it's very important for people to be able to talk through things, especially with somebody that is an objective observer. So I know it's very difficult to find somebody that's near you, find somebody that you click with. It could be a daunting task, but this is why BetterHelp can be a good option for you, because it's entirely done online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. You go to betterhelp.com/LockedOnNBA and you fill out a brief questionnaire. You get matched with a licensed therapist. If you don't click, you can switch at any time for no additional charge. This is all done on your schedule, so you don't have to find somebody near work or near home or whatever. You're at home when you do this. You can do this online. Very convenient. BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA. You get 10% off your first month. Talk through whatever you need to talk through. Talk through the stress of the holidays. It's tough now with Christmas. A lot of people face a lot of stress. This is a very important time of year to be able to talk through some stuff with somebody. So give BetterHelp a try. BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA. Get 10% off your first month. It's BetterHelp. HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. You've got to be might be your actually second listen on this Locked On Celtics feed, because you'll see two podcasts. If you're on the audio feed and you're looking, you say, what's postcast? Postcast is Steve Lennox immediately after the game goes live on the Locked On Sports Boston YouTube page. After that, he goes on to, that audio goes on to the Locked On Celtics audio page. So on the audio feed, you'll get that first, and then my post-game podcast after I've done my writing for Boston Sports Journal. I've talked to and listened to everybody talk after the game, so I'll have a little bit more in-depth stuff here on my Locked On Celtics podcast. The Locked On Celtics YouTube page is unchanged. That's all me, so you can watch this show there and get into the comment section. Luke Kornet, I got to give him a special shout out. He's been great. He's been great in spots. He's been great in extended time. I think this season is following a very similar path as last season. I've mentioned this before. He comes in. Last season there was an injury involved, but kind of a spotty start. I think maybe it's just Luke needs to get into the flow of things. Maybe he needs to whatever. I don't know. But this year, same idea. A little slow. Kata came in, had his big kind of push. Luke comes back into the fold, and now it's very clear that Luke Kornet, we can see why. I'm starting to feel better about, hey, remember when I talked about starting him until Porzingis got back? Like that. This is the type of guy that I've been talking about. And this one, he didn't score a ton, right? 7 points, but he was a plus 20. And early on, he was a plus 21 or something like that in 9 minutes. Let's see. First quarter, he had 3 minutes, and he was a plus 11 in the first quarter. And the second quarter, he played 9.5 minutes and was a plus 6. So that was an incredible kind of contribution for him. Again, no Al Horford. He was just resting. Porzingis left at the end of the second quarter, but Kornet had was it 5 offensive rebounds, keeping possessions alive. He got to the free throw line 8 times, which is unusual for Kornet. If he had the ability to finish some of those, if he had finished a couple of those, he could have had easily a 15-point night. But regardless, the 11 rebounds, the 5 offensive rebounds were huge. The 4 assists, one of them very cool alley-oop to Jayson Tatum. You don't see that very much. Tatum doesn't go up for a lot of alley-oops, but that was a good one. I think Kornet has shown himself to be very capable. You don't hear a lot of people talking about who the Celtics need to figure out their big man depth. They have a really good big man rotation. Porzingis and Horford are obviously still really good. Porzingis, even though he's hurt, Al Horford, even though he's older, he's going to turn 39 in June. That's they're still really good. They're exactly what the Celtics need. And Kornet comes in and when he plays like this, sets good screens, plays good defense. He had 2 steals, 2 blocks in this. No, wait, that was Keita who had 2 steals and 2 blocks. But again, to my point, 2 steals, 1 block. I can read. But to my point, like you can go to these guys and get this kind of production. Keita did have a hilarious play where, he was trying to keep, he made a great play to get a steal, but the ball was a little out of his hands and chasing it down. And he tried to like save it to Jaylen Brown, but he basically 2 hands spiked it out of bounds. But then he came back in the next play and got a steal and started the break. Like that was really good. So, you get some kind of like hilarity with Keita, but I got to shout out like the Celtics big man rotation with Porzingis, Horford, Kornet, Keita, very capable of holding their own. And, you're hoping that they don't have a ton to do with playoff games, but if they need to step in playoff games, I trust Luke Kornet. I trust him to be effective, right? And not be a negative. That's the whole thing. That's the entire thing. When you're trying to make up for the absence of somebody, are you a positive? Are you neutral? Great. Are you a negative? Well, now we get a problem. And I just don't see Kornet as a negative. And if he ever is a negative, then you can go to somebody like Keita, who can generally be a positive in the situations where Kornet is a negative. Jayson Tatum led the team in scoring, and I'm talking about him in some detail at 18 minutes because this was the most casual 28 and 12 that I've seen from Tatum. Early on, he was attacking Alex Sarr as usual. I think if Alex Sarr wasn't in foul trouble, the Celtics probably would have looked a lot better offensively because they just kept attacking him and just merciless. He's young. He's a rookie, right? So it's the Wizards, though. Ooh, man, hopefully he can figure out some shooting for them because he couldn't hit a damn thing. They didn't give him any help. He can't defend Jayson Tatum at all. Just so bad. It's so bad. Tatum at the end of the first quarter just went at Sarr again, just like he did in every other Wizards game so far. Getting dunks, getting wherever he wants, super easy. But Tatum had his stretch in the first quarter, had a little bit in the second quarter. The third quarter, yeah, he had like a big third quarter, but I don't know, it just felt like he caught fire a little bit. He couldn't hit a 3, but getting to the rim and all of that, I don't know. It just felt like by the end, I'm like, oh, wow, 28 and 12 for Tatum. Right? Am I wrong? You tell me. At no point in this game did I think, man, Tatum is dominating. And that's a testament to how good he is. Imagine being so good that you can just kind of casually drop 28 and 12 on a professional NBA team. So, yeah, Tatum, not his best shooting night for sure, 2 of 9. But he's really good. He's really good. Payton Pritchard was the timely one. Sam Hauser, too, hit some shots. Like, they combined 9 for 19. Pritchard, again, great. Let's talk about Pritchard. Let's talk about his defense because he has some lofty goals. Let's talk about that when I come back. Today's show brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle all that NFL action, NBA action, whatever action you want to tackle at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customer, you signing up at FanDuel.com. All you got to do is place a $5 bet that wins, and you get $150 in bonus bets. It's very simple. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place your live bets on the NFL or NBA or whatever. It's all in one place. When you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, live play-by-play, and a whole lot more on the same page where you place your bets. So visit FanDuel.com today to join and make that first $5 bet. If you win, you get $150 in bonus bets. Make sure you're using the tools that they have available to you to set your limits, set your budget so you can gamble responsibly. Have fun with the money that you're free to spend and not go overboard with it because nobody wants that to happen. You just want to have some fun over there at FanDuel. Put a little skin in the game. Maybe your first $5 bet wins and you get those $150 in bonus bets. At FanDuel.com, never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go check out our Locked On Celtics newsletter. Go to LockedOnDaily.com. Subscribe to the Locked On Celtics newsletter. Get daily, Monday through Friday, coverage directly to your inbox. Celtics coverage, NBA coverage, fantasy coverage, and links to some of the greatest Celtics content out there, all in your inbox for free, Monday through Friday at Locked On Daily. That's LockedOnDaily.com. Payton Pritchard, Sam Hauser, difference makers. Hauser just shoots well in that building. 4 of 9 in this game from 3. Again, some good defense. He was the team leader in plus minus 27. 12 points, 7 rebounds, an assist, 2 steals. Again, players attack him defensively, and he holds his own. You see it over and over and over again. You'd think that the book is out, but players just feel like they need to keep challenging him, and he generally holds his own and does really, really well. Payton Pritchard also playing some defense. He and Jordan Poole got into it. So second quarter, a few minutes into the second quarter, Pritchard defends Poole. Poole comes in, tries a move. Nope, dribbles it off his leg, goes back court, and turnover. And Pritchard comes back. He looks at the bench. He goes, I'm going to lock this up. Okay? And you're like, wow, Pritchard just talking smack defensively. And he and Poole get into it a little bit. He did not lock Jordan Poole up, but he played tough defense and made Poole work for some things. And Poole, being the idiot that he is, got overly wrapped up in this duel, crossed up Pritchard, tripped Pritchard a little bit there, kind of pushed him. One of my pet peeves is when people go, oh, he broke Pritchard's ankles. Like, okay, yeah, there's a little bit of a push there. He was helped. I'm all for a good ankle break, but I mean, when it's obvious that he gets pushed or somebody steps on a foot or something, you're like, all right, you can't call that an ankle break. It's not, even though it's uncalled. It's not. So, but regardless, this idiot freaking Jordan Poole. Pritchard falls, and Poole decides to point at Pritchard before he shoots the ball. And then that gives Hauser plenty of time to come over and challenge the shot. So now Pritchard has to swing the ball and gives up his opportunity to shot. What are you pointing at? What big play did you make? You just did nothing. You're supposed to be the star player. You're the guy that gets all the shots. And you would rather take the time to point before you shoot? How about pointing after you shoot? Make the shot, and then you point. That's the order in which it goes. What a dumb, moronic thing to do. This is why the Wizards are as bad as they are, because Jordan Poole is their best player. Not just because they don't have a team that fits, or not just because they're just ravaged by injuries. It doesn't matter. When Jordan Poole is your best player, you're not going to be a good team. But he and Pritchard got into a little back and forth. Pritchard did play some pretty good defense. Now, Pritchard, like I said before, hit some timely shots. He did not lead the Celtics in scoring. That was Jayson Tatum. Pritchard had 15. So did Derek White. By the way, Derek White, a very Derek White night. 15 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks. Just Mr. Do-It-All. Just very do-it-all. 5 of 10 from the field. 3 of 7 from 3. The only blemish, 2 of 4 from the line. Okay? But 5 rebounds, 5 assists. This guy does everything. But he had 15. Pritchard had 15. Pritchard's shots had a little, timeliness to them, for sure. The 2 shots that he hit in the third quarter, I call those my turning point on Boston Sports Journal, because the Wizards were making a run. Well, I thought that was more the Celtics' fault than it was the Wizards doing anything good. But regardless, Pritchard was there. He hits those 2 shots, and then everything just kind of stabilizes after that. But Pritchard coming in, like, giving up 4 offensive rebounds to Payton Pritchard. I've said this before. You should be fined for giving up offensive rebounds to Payton Pritchard. But he keeps finding his way in there, right? He's just so sneaky, slithery. Gets in there, great positioning, keeps possessions alive. He makes an incredible impact, not just by shooting 5 of 10, not just being able to shoot from 30 feet out, not just getting hot. It's all of that stuff. The 6 assists, that was a team high. But after the game, Pritchard was more concerned about talking about his defense, which is interesting. And he had a quote, and part of me thinks, like, I wonder if he's talking to me. Because he said, sometimes I see things that say I'm a defensive liability, and it irks me. And every game I go out and try to prove that narrative wrong. I, hand up, have called him a defensive liability, because he has been in the past. He has in the past been unplayable. There's no doubt. Like, that's actual documented history. But he is getting better as a defender. He can get low. He's strong. He's not like, he's 6'1", right? That's the liability. That's the entirety of his liability. He's 6'1". So I hate to say it, but at 6'1" in the NBA, there are going to be nights where you are, through no fault of your own, a defensive liability, because against bigger, longer teams, they're going to target him and they're going to be able to shoot over him. And if guys shoot over him and they get clean looks, then there's the potential for the Celtics to give up points on the defensive end. But to Pritchard's credit, he's been better in those situations and better about not being in those situations. So what does Pritchard do well defensively? Full court pressure, first and foremost. Full court pressure, his ability to slide his feet super quick. He is not a bad defender for his size, right? He's not a bad defender. It's not like you're targeting Darius Garland, who is a bad defender. You're targeting Pritchard because you've got size and you're going to shoot over the top of him, or you're going to try to post him up. But if you're trying to dribble up against him, he has the ability to make your life tough or to get a steal, right? So he's good at that. He's quick, slides his feet, active hands, all of that stuff. He is smart. I give Pritchard credit for, I've seen him do it a few times. You get cross-matched or a switch before you get attacked. He will find the big, and he will find an opportunity to scram switch, which is, he gets a big switched on him. Porzingis or Horford is next to him, and he just turns. The ball is somewhere else, and he'll just say, "Hey, let's switch," and they'll kind of like, so they'll just switch before the ball gets to the mismatch, and now Horford has to deal with that mismatch, right? But it's not a mismatch anymore. So he's good at that. He recognizes that. The low center of gravity doesn't get bulldozed all the time. So he has ways to defend well. And he said after the game that I eventually, hopefully, I get better at taking charges. There's an art to it. It's timing. I'm not the best. And he says, I don't want to say you flop on it, but I'm not the best at selling things. So he is saying flop on it. Hey, look, fact of the matter is, if you're a smaller guy, you got to pull a few tricks. And no one wants to see Pritchard go like full flopper or anything like that. But sometimes you got to put your pride aside. And playing defense, if you want to force a turnover, an offensive foul is a turnover. If you want to get the ball back for your team, are you going to be like, no, I'm not falling down on this play? All right, fine. Then you're not getting the ball back for your team and you're hurting your team, right? Sometimes you got to do it. Sometimes you got to sell. Sorry. Sometimes you got to sell. So he's got to get better at that. But shout out to Pritchard for, setting this as a goal. He says, I'm trying to be a complete two-way player. It's something I'm always going to strive to be. If I can be known as an elite on-ball player, an elite offensive player, that's a big goal of mine. Is he ever going to be elite as a defender? No, he's not. I don't think he's ever going to be like on an all-defense team. But the whole point, like I said earlier, can you get to a point where you're not a negative? And I think he's already at a point where he's not a negative on most nights. Against, like, I don't know, the Orlandos of the world, it might be tough. Milwaukee is tough. They've got length. Like those matchups are going to be tough. And maybe you just don't play as much on those nights. That's just how it's going to be. But I think most nights he is already a serviceable defender, not a negative. And he's getting better. And look, Pritchard is becoming like the new version of Jaylen Brown for me. Like of course I've doubted him. He's 6'1", like 6'1", coming off the bench. Like, okay, yeah, he shoots well. He does shoot well. His playmaking has gotten better. So he's 6th man of the year. I mean, at this point, it's his to lose. You just got to keep playing like this. Most improved player. I don't know if they were talking about that on the broadcast. Maybe not out of the question. Maybe, but I'm not going to put too many limits on him. I don't think he's going to go full Jaylen Brown. Like I don't think Pritchard will ever be an all-star. Maybe some point down the line, maybe gets one. Maybe. We'll see. I could be wrong. I've been wrong about him before. So maybe. I think his tenacity, his determination will make him a better defender. He's already, like I said, it's okay. He could be better. And I think he will get better. So interesting. I think it's interesting that he got into Jordan Poole's head. Like that's pretty good to get into the other players, star players' head and as Payton Pritchard as a 6 man to come in and be like in a duel like that is pretty good. All right, couple days off for the Celtics now, so I'll do another mailbag. Mailbag questions can come in at johnkaralis.com/mailbag, johnkaralis.com/mailbag. Ask your questions. I'll do another mailbag because I got a lot of questions there too. There's going to be a practice or two before they play Chicago, so we'll go there and there's going to be more to talk about. So tons to talk about here on the Locked On Celtics podcast. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your audio. You can watch the show on YouTube, the Locked On Celtics YouTube page. Get into that comment section, have some fun with your fellow Celtics fans, and share the podcast. Tell everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.